So we're going to carry on with our configuration of passwords here on our VTY lines. We're going to enter the password command, and we're going to hit question mark just to see what options are available to us. Now, by default, if we just enter a password, it's going to assume that this is an unencrypted password. You also have an option to use a hidden password or an encrypted password, and that's useful if you have an outside company or a lower level engineer or technician that you need to configure your switches. You need to have them take them out of the box and put the configuration on the switch before they're sent out to the field. But you may not necessarily want that third party or that lower level technician knowing all of your Telnet and VTY and console line passwords. So you can specify that the passwords are encrypted, which we'll show you how to do that elsewhere in the course when we talk about securing the switch. And that way, as they paste this configuration into the switch, or as they TFTP it into the switch, they can't just look at the config and figure out what your passwords are. In this case, since I'm not nearly good enough to come up with an encrypted password that's actually anything logical, I'm just going to enter the password1. Super secure there, and we'll exit this. And if we show the running config and go all the way to the bottom, you'll notice that now our VTY04 and VTY515 passwords have both been set to the same thing. Now, the last item we're going to talk about in our advanced switch configuration is banners. Now, there are several different banners that you can set on the Cisco switch, and we'll talk about all of them briefly here in just a moment. The one we're going to set is the login banner. This is the banner that is presented to incoming connections before any username or password prompts are asked for from the connecting user. So we go into config mode to do this. So do config T, and we'll type banner and hit question mark. And there are several different banners, as we mentioned. We can set just any type of banner we want here without specifying one of the types of banners, and by default it's going to set the message of the day banner. You have the exec banner, which is the banner you see after you log in once the user exec mode has started. You have the incoming banner, which is shown on your terminal lines before you're even prompted for usernames and passwords. So you could, in theory, set an incoming banner for Telnet that basically says, we don't allow Telnet, go away. And since there is no exec process enabled for that VTY line, it would just display that banner and then disconnect. In this case, we're going to set the login banner, and the login banner is what's shown, again, before any username or password prompts. We'll do banner, login, we hit question mark, and now we're going to enter our banner text. Now, it could be just a simple one-line banner text, hello world or whatever, but we're going to enter a multi-line banner. And when you do this, you have to come up with a delimiter, and that delimiter can't be anywhere in your banner text, so it's best to set it to like a hash sign. Or Control-C. I've seen some people use Control-C as the banner delimiter. In our case, I've got a cute little graphic, so I'm just going to use the hash mark here. And now it says enter text message end with the character pound. Now, there's a little bit of an idiosyncrasy with that, which we'll talk about here in a second. So I've gone out to a website and I've gotten an ASCII art of the words lab switch, and that's what I'm going to put in for our login banner. So I'll copy that, go in here, and paste it there. And the way this banner works, if you were done with this and you think, oh, well, I'm done, I'm just going to enter the pound key here, and you enter pound, well, it doesn't exit the banner mode. Basically, the way this has to work, you have to have a character and then the delimiter. The delimiter cannot be the first character of any line. I consider it a bug. I'm sure Cisco probably considers it a feature. In this case, we do that, we're bumped back to the config mode. So I'll hit Control-Z, and I'll write the config, and then we'll exit. We hit return to get started, but where's our banner? We set a login banner. Well, you'll notice that we're not ever prompted for a password here on the console. And this leads to the other password we were going to set. We're going to enable password authentication for the console port. In this case, I will go ahead and go into enable mode. We'll go into config T. In this case, we're going to use line console 0, because that is the console line. So now if we type login, that enables login, and actually we'll hit question mark just so you can see what the help is for it. But you see login enables password checking. So we'll do login, and we could say local to say I only want to use a local database, or if you have a AAA or a Radius authentication server, you can use that here. In this case, we don't have that on our network, so we'll do login. It says login is disabled until a password is set, so we have to set a password before it will ask for a password. In this case, we'll do password, and I'll do Cisco1 as the password. So exit that, write the config. And now let's see if we get that login banner. So let's quit, press return. There's our lab switch banner. And the reason we get it now is because we have login enabled for this. Now we're being asked for our password. So we'll do Cisco1, and now we're in user exec mode just as we expected. So now you know some of the basic configuration settings to enable login and password checking on the switch. You've hopefully gotten comfortable with going into and out of configuration mode and writing your config, and hopefully that'll be a habit that's ingrained upon you, is that you write your config frequently so that you don't run the risk of losing all of your hard work after a power failure. And that concludes our discussion of advanced configuration.